Good evening, race fans, and welcome out to the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tonight, here for round number 8 of season number 11 here at the Stafford Motor Speedway up in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. I'm real good at words, I promise. Third time, no, actually, yeah, third time, excuse me, that this series has ever visited the Stafford Motor Speedway. First time back in season number 6 in the modified, where Brian Sabelski took home the win. Then again, season number 9 in the street stock, Mike Sukup took home the win there for that race. And Brian Sabelski in this race again. So who knows, maybe we could see a driver take home a repeat win here at this half mile or 0.8 kilometer speedway. Of course, Stafford Springs has a whole lot of history to it. Stafford Motor Speedway was initially a horse racing track dating back all the way to the 1870s. Then, after World War II, it started being used for automobile racing. This track, also known as the home of the SK Modified, this is where that division began. But that is not what these ASRC Oval Series drivers will be using tonight, because they will be running in the late model stock. Speaking of, though, drivers are making their way on the starting grid. We're all to get things rolling here, so how about we take a quick look down at how our qualifying shaking out. Starting out on the pole here, that's not looking quite right. It's got to be Tyler McRae and Jason Gardner up on the front row, followed by Brian Sabelski and Derek Murphy for row 2, Patrick Dixon and Steven Rex. Oh, I bet I know what it's doing here. Hold on, let's get this looking a little bit right here. This is probably gonna fix it. No, it is not. That's definitely bizarre to see. But Tyler McRae is going to be the driver taking the pole here, followed by Jason Gardner. Brian Sabelski back in the Maconi setup shop car going to be starting position number 3, followed by the unsponsored 78 of Derek Murphy. Patrick Dixon in the advanced auto parts number 2, starting back at the tail end of the field, with Steven Rex in the Rex's garage number 10, rounding out the tail end of the field. We're getting ready to go racing here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. 100 laps is the distance. Green flag up in the air here for round number 8 of the season. Side by side down into turn number 1 here, and McRae is off to a really solid start in that bright cherry red dropping bombs racing entry. 4 wins to his name so far this season, looking to try and make it number 5 here. But it's actually Brian Sabelski just behind in the Maconi setup shop, number 85. That is our championship points leader for the time being, has a 30-point lead over Tyler McRae. And of course, one single position ain't going to make all that much of a difference here in the championship standings, but every single point counts as we get into the latter half of this championship. McRae and Sabelski single filing it out. The whole rest of the field single filing it out as well here just a bit. Murphy and Gardner were duking it out here. Gardner's going to lose the spot to that number 78 machine. Now side by side, Steven Rex and Patrick Dixon. Rex all the way down on the apron, which is not something we traditionally see working out here at Stafford, but he's certainly going to try and make it happen. There's contact there between himself and the 2 of Patrick Dixon. That was a little bit scary to see here. Everything looking a-okay out on the track. But already, only 4 laps in the books, and these drivers are already getting a little argy-bargy with each other, a little pushing, a little bit of shoving here in these late model stock cars. But you know what? That's kind of be expected here at short track racing like this. That is how you get things done sometimes. And of course, all these cars are still pointed in the right direction, and that sometimes is half the battle. It's okay to get a little bit of physical as long as you're not outright dumping the other cars. And so far this season, we have seen the occasional questionable move, but for the most part, everything has been pretty solid here for season number 11. Of course, last week at the Southern National Motorsports Park, Tyler McRae took home his 4th win of the season. Ryan Sabelski, runner-up in that event. Sabelski, of course, multi-time champion here in the ASRC Oval Series, trying to take home another title. But McRae has been showing some incredible speed so far here in season number 11. And it's been a bit of a challenge to contest with. So far, it's pretty much evenly split. Of course, this is round 8, so can't divide 7 races equally, but 3 wins to Sabelski, 4 to McRae. It has been a very, very tight season between these two drivers, and of course, these two are absolutely pulling away from the rest of the field here. 0.2 of a second between them, the entire rest of the field over a second back from this battle for the lead. Steven Rex back in the 5th position, running in that number 10 Rex's Garage entry, coming into tonight's event. Back in the actually not seeing him on the championship standing, so I believe this might actually be Steven Rex's first race here in season number 11. Of course, not his first rodeo here in the ASRC Oval Series. He has competed here in the league before, but it looks like this is the first time he's been out here in season number 11. Of course, running in that Rex's Garage entry, he is another member of the Droppin' Bombs Racing team, so he has been gonna probably be trying to work together here with Tyler McRae, provided he can catch up to there and help his teammate out. But we've seen other shenanigans go down between the Droppin' Bombs Racing team before, so you can't say that all too easily here. Of course, Mike Sukup unfortunately unable to attend tonight's event, but Sukup and McRae, they're teammates, but they have been in plenty of scuffles out on the raceway before. Both these drivers, sure, they are teammates, but they absolutely both want to win here. A little bit further back in the back, Gardner trying to make the move on Murphy here down on the bottom of the track, and it looks like he is going to be able to do it. Murphy up on the high line in the number 78, and there is the number 10 machine, Rex's Garage entry of Steven Rex. And of course, you can see the Droppin' Bombs logo underneath the number as well. Droppin' Bombs Racing has had some really solid runs so far here in not just season number 11, but as a whole. They've been running in the ASRC Oval Series off and on for a while now, but this season's the first time we've really seen their team come out in full force. Tyler McRae doing the best of the bunch so far, but we also have Sean Patrick coming out from time to time, Mike Sukup every now and again. Of course, now we have Steven Rex for the full force of the Droppin' Bombs Racing team. Rex currently up +2 over Murphy and Dixon right now. Working his way through the field slowly but surely. Of course, closest battle on track still is the battle for the race lead here between McRae and Sabelski. Neither one has really been able to get an edge over the other here. Last time by, Sabelski was about 0.4 of a second slower than McRae. So he's going to need to pick up the pace a little bit here if he wants to get around that number 90 time. But for the most part here, they are really evenly matched. And when it comes to their personal best lap times, Brian Sabelski is the fastest driver on the track in that regard, with a fast lap of a 20.01. Sabelski trying to take a peek down the low line, not really able to make it work though. Thought about trying to make something happen, but just not really got the momentum, not really quite close enough to have it go down there. Still only 0.2 of a second separating these drivers, occasionally fluctuating up to 0.3 of a second, but effectively, Sabelski is all over the back bumper of that number 99 machine. Okay, well, let's ride on board here with Sabelski, see what all he is seeing going around this speedway. That is not Sabelski. This is on board with Mr. Brian Sabelski here, as he tries to figure out how to get around that shiny red Droppin' Bombs Racing team entry of Tyler McRae. So far led every lap so far this evening. Timing and scoring is currently saying he's up +4 positions. Of course, that is just a little bit of an error there. Tyler McRae did qualify on the pole, and he has led every lap of this event so far. You can see Sabelski reaching up over 100 miles per hour before heading down into the corner. It's still just not quite enough speed to make this pass on that number 99 machine, but he is certainly trying with everything he has to throw at him. A little bit further back, Steven Rex starting to catch up to Gardner here. We might see him start to put the pressure down on that number 93. Seeing if he can't try and catch up to his teammate here. Currently in a little bit of a bubble all by himself. Got Gardner about 9/10 of a second, almost a full second up the road here, then a full second and a half back for Derek Murphy and Patrick Dixon. Dixon, little bit off the pace here, last time by about 2/10 of a second slower than our race leader right now. Still, the battle rages on for the race lead between these two drivers, McRae and Sabelski. Sabelski trying to peek down to the inside, take a little bit of an alternate line around this track, trying to go a little bit lower here on entry. But it's just so hard to make a pass here on this speedway when you're so equally matched in terms of actual lap times here. Of course, both drivers making a point of avoiding the apron. They do not want to be going down there. That apron here at Stafford is absolutely treacherous. It might as well be made of ice. I say that, and McRae and Sabelski both dipping the left front down onto there, trying to get a little bit of extra rotation. You can see it actually worked out there for McRae a little bit. Sabelski closed up the gap, but again, just no way to really try and make that pass stick here. Already a quarter of the way through this race, they are clicking off laps like crazy here. Again, only 20-second lap times. That makes these laps go by pretty darn quickly. And of course, so far, everyone around the track keeping it completely clean with no caution flags. This race will go by quicker than a lot of these drivers are really going to expect. McRae and Sabelski both managing to continue to pull away from the rest of the field here. Now about 2 full seconds between Sabelski and Gardner back for the third position. So unless there's contact here between McRae and Sabelski, or just something goes catastrophically wrong, it seems like we're going to have the battle for the race lead here, and then everyone else is just going to have to contest for third and just deal with it, because these two drivers have been putting down some crazy speeds here. Last time by, I mean, despite that, despite the massive gap between second and third, last time around, identical lap times for your top three drivers, 23.4. And actually, last time by, Steven Rex was the fastest of the bunch. So definitely a whole lot of drivers we have to keep an eye on as we get into the longer run of this event. Because it's seeming like some of those drivers further back in the field might have some tricks up their sleeves to give to each other. Speaking of drivers back near the back of the field, Steven Rex, starting to put the pressure down on Jason Gardner, and Rex is trying to make the entirety of the apron work for him in that bright green number 10 machine. That is not something I know I've said this already, but that's just not something we normally see here at Stafford. Drivers trying to make the apron work. Of course, these brand new late model stocks, it's been out on the iRacing platform for a little bit of time now, but there's still a decent camp of people who think that this car has an unnatural amount of grip. And of course, I'm no race car driver, so I can't really comment on that one way or another. But that could be a little bit of an explanation of why we're seeing Steven Rex be able to get away with using the apron when traditionally we see drivers try and avoid the apron like a plague here at Stafford in particular. I mean, there's some tracks where you can definitely get away with it, but here at Stafford, just not a chance, especially in like a modified or a street stock. That would be a very dangerous place for these drivers to be treading here. That time around, we see both Gardner and Rex trying to make it work a little bit here, but Rex is closing the gap on that number 93 machine. He is trying to find a way around him. It looks like he has the speed to do it. He's just got to make something stick, make Gardner have a little bit of a mistake, and he should be able to get around him. Rex coming in here from Channahon, Illinois, though. His teammate of Tyler McRae from over in Chesterfield, Virginia. So a little bit up north for some of these drivers. And of course, Stafford Motor Speedway up in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, home of the SK Modified. So a little bit more up home up at home for some of these drivers. Of course, Jason Gardner's from down south. Brian Sabelski's out on the west coast. Murphy and Dixon, I'm not too sure about, but we've got drivers all over the United States here as we have a pass for the lead between Sabelski and McRae. Sabelski's going to dive it down low and get the pass on that number 99 machine. Sabelski is your new race leader, but will it last? Will we see McRae make the move back on him? Looks like right now, no, he is going to fall back just a little bit here. Last time by, McRae was a bit off the pace, about 4/10 off of our race leader, who again was slower than Steven Rex. But sure enough, Sabelski is at least going to take home 1 bonus point for leading a lap here this evening. Of course, the question is how many laps we'll be able to lead, because there is always a bonus point for having the most laps led overall, and we're not quite halfway through this race, so it could still be either of these drivers' games. Just going to be a question of how long Sabelski can keep that Makoni setup shop number 85 up here in the front of the field. 41 laps in the books, and already a little bit of lap traffic starting to show up on the horizon. The number 2 of Patrick Dixon. Dixon's actually going to be pulling it down to pit lane here, and maybe not quite. He's going to go off the speedway trying to get down to pit lane. He manages to get it back. Oh, and he takes out the cone. Oh no, poor Patrick. I don't know if something's broken on that number 2 machine or if he's just not having the greatest day here, but Dixon's going to pull it on down to pit lane and take it down into his pit stop. I don't see any damage on that advanced auto parts number 2 machine, but you never really know what could be going on underneath the hood. But sure enough, Dixon is going to pull it on down into his pit box. And presumably, I don't know this for sure, we don't get words like that from race control in official capacity, but I would imagine that he's going to get some sort of penalty for an unsafe pit entrance there. Going back to our race lead, though, Sabelski and McRae, and Sabelski is starting to pull away here a little bit, about 4/10 of a second between the two of them, which really is not a lot, but there's at least 2 full car lengths there, and that's the most of a gap we've seen in this battle all day. 45 laps in the books here, getting ready to cross the line onto the halfway point here in just a minute. It's also always the question of pit stops. Will we see tires be put on these late model stocks? I would lean towards no. My first assumption would be probably not. I mean, if we get a late race caution, I could see it happening. This track in particular can be a bit difficult for tire wears. We see Patrick Dixon making his way back out onto the speedway here in that number 2 machine. He is being scored 5 laps down. But this track being so flat, you have to put so much work onto your tires here at Stafford. It wears them down pretty badly, but that said, I can't see any way where a green flag pit stop would really be the play here for tires. Maybe under yellow, but under green, you're going to be losing at least 2 laps going and putting even just right side tires on. So I would imagine Sabelski is going to try and make this set of tires last. McRae as well going to try and make this current set of tires last. It's just a big question of will they be able to? There's always that one little if. It's certainly easier said than done when it comes to tire management with any car here on the iRacing.com platform, but these short track cars in particular can be really brutal with wearing away the treads here at Stafford. Still the battle for the lead. Only about 3/10 of a second, call it about 4/10 of a second now between these two drivers. Last time by, McRae was faster than Sabelski by about 1/10. So McRae does still have some speed to work with here. He is not out of this fight for the lead by any means, and I say that, and Sabelski's coming down pit lane. So pardon me for being the big dummy here and saying no one is going to be coming down to pits. What's the call going to be for that number 85 machine, though, is the big question here, because this is going to be a costly pit stop. Will we see tires be put on the number 85 machine? Sure enough, they're jacking up the right side of it. We will be putting tires on this number 85 machine. And already down a lap. And as McRae comes around again, sure enough, that will be putting Sabelski a lap down. I don't quite think 2 laps. Depends on how quickly he can get up to speed here. But no, Tyler McRae, Steven Rex both also coming down to pit lane here. So fuel is a must. Might as well take tires here with it. I almost forgot for a minute there that there are fuel limits here in the ASRC Oval Series, because I've been so used to broadcasting leagues where they don't do fuel limits. And I was like, surely these late models have enough fuel to make it to the end. But no, not quite. Everyone else is coming down to do their pit stops. Jason Gardner now making his way down. And that will have Sabelski be currently scored as our race leader, as McRae... No, it might not actually. McRae's going to make it back out on the track before Sabelski. Will he get his tires up to temp is the question. Sabelski is closing the distance. But I think that McRae has already got himself up to racing speed, so it's not going to be quite as easy as I thought it was going to be for the driver of the number 85 machine. Derek Murphy is still out there in the number 78 machine. He's going to be picking up the bonus point for leading at least 1 lap here in that unsponsored number 78. Still the only driver on the speedway, so you'll have to see Murphy come down here in the next couple of laps. Hoping and praying for a caution in that number 78 machine, but unfortunately I don't think he's going to quite be so lucky here. With only 6 cars out on the speedway, the chances of an actual incident really are not all that high here. But sure enough, Murphy's still doing his best to try and stay out. There we go. Now he's coming on down the pit lane, and once he does, that will filter Tyler McRae back up to the race lead and have everyone's their pit cycles done and dusted here this evening. No reason anyone else should have to stop here tonight unless they pick up some absolutely terminal levels of damage. Pretty spread out around the field here. Tyler McRae, 2 seconds over Brian Sabelski. That's going to be another second back from Sabelski to Rex, and 3.5 seconds back from Rex to Gardner. That said, Gardner is another driver that we really need to think about in the long-term implications of this race. Of course, we are in round number 8 of this 12-week season, and coming into tonight's event, Jason Gardner, 141 points to his name, only 10 points behind Tyler McRae in the championship standings, but despite the fact that Gardner has not won a race and McRae has 4 wins to his name. Of course, McRae not able to compete full-time in the early goings of this season, only really making a resurgence here in the latter half. But McRae has put on a very dominant show recently, and Gardner really needs every opportunity he can get to try and pick up some points and put himself back up into second in the championship standings. Back and forth in 5th in the championship is going to be TJ Henson and Johnny Bell, both drivers that are unfortunately not able to make it out here this evening. Same can be said for the driver in 6th place. That's Andrew Ibister right now, unable to make it out to the speedway. So that brings us back down to 7th for Derek Murphy. 54 points to his name, running back in 7th in the championship standings in that number 78 machine. And Patrick Dixon out here being scored back in the 10th position, tied together with Nico Morelli, another driver, of course, unable to attend here at Stafford. 21 unique drivers so far here in the ASRC Oval Series for season number 11. All over the place in terms of points. Of course, our championship leader, 182 points to his name, goes all the way back to 21st with Curtis Prince. 1 singular point to his name. That's going to be Dave Zierak with 4 points, Sean Patrick with 7, Garrett Barber with 9, and a whole ton of other drivers all throughout this field who have made starts so far in season number 11. Now, I don't think Curtis Prince is exactly in championship contention anymore. There's still plenty of opportunities for these drivers to come out here and write their name in the record book of the ASRC Oval Series, at least for taking home race wins, even if they don't bring home a championship. All the championship implication here is between McRae and Sabelski. 182 to 151. Jason Gardner back with a 141. Gardner is still in this battle as well, but currently running back in the 4th position. 6 spots, or no, 6 seconds, excuse me, I know how to speak. 6 seconds back from our race leader right now. You can see with the zoom out cam, kinda everyone's just on their own in no man's land around this speedway right now, which is exactly what McRae wants. No chance of a caution is really exactly what he needs to keep up at the front of this race. Crossing the line here, 66 laps now completed, 2/3 of the way through tonight's event. Technically 2/3 of the way, right about right here, roughly, if you want to get nitty gritty with the decimals on that one, but that requires math, and we're here to watch cars go fast and turn left. That's way too much math here for any broadcast, much less mine here with the ASRC Oval Series. Of course, presented by our friends at SM Racing Products. Love the work that they do, putting together button boxes and other sim racing gear. Just two guys who decided they didn't really like what was up for offering on the market, so what better way than do it yourself? Of course, that is SM Racing Products on Facebook and on their website. Be sure to give them a look-see and check out all of the great work they do. And of course, big thank you to them for coming out and supporting the league so that they can put on such a great race that we have had here so far at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Getting ready to put lap number 70 here in the record book. It's going to be 30 to go here at the Stafford Motor Speedway as Tyler McRae starts to come up on some lap traffic. That is the number 2 of Patrick Dixon, who's going to scrape against the outside wall. He's going to go down into the infield grass. Tries to bring it to a stop. Unfortunately, not going to go into pit lane in that number 2 machine. Avoiding those exit cones, so I think Dixon is good to not get a penalty. I don't know that for sure, but I think he's good to keep going here in that number 2 machine. Not really any damage on there, but I don't think he's going to be getting a penalty for going off that track in that number 66 machine. Currently looking at the battle for second, though. Sabelski and Rex starting to get into a scuffle here. Rex has closed that distance down to about 4/10 of a second between the two of them. Last time around, Rex was faster than Sabelski and McRae, so I mean, we only got about 27 laps left to go here. That's not really going to be enough to make any substantial moves for the lead, I don't think. But Rex is very much still in this battle. We could see him take home a win in his debut race here for season number 11. And that would, of course, make us be at 3 unique winners for every running of this speedway in 3 different cars at that. Of course, the first win back in Season 6 for Sabelski was in the Tour Modified. Then Mike Sukout took home the win here in Season number 9 in the Street Stock for the one season that the Street Stock was ran in that little intermission period. 25 laps left to go here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. The clock is ticking for these two drivers back in second and third to get up there and do something about the dominant performance that McRae is putting on here. And I don't know if we're going to actually see Sabelski and Rex work together. I'd imagine we're going to see them absolutely duke it out with each other and not really get anywhere trying to catch up to that number 99 machine. Of course, they do have that lap traffic to worry about. Patrick Dixon up here about half of the speedway away from Derek Murphy. Derek Murphy and Gardner about half the speedway back as well, but in the other direction. So McRae, depending on how fast he catches that number 2 machine, might have to be a little bit heads up with his driving again. Of course, last time he caught that 2, Dixon ended up down in the infield. As now we're starting to see Rex really put the pressure down on that number 85 machine with 22 laps left to go. Will Sabelski be able to hold on to the runner-up position, continue the 1-2 trend that he had last week at Southern National, or will we see not rookie driver, but rookie for this particular season, Steven Rex, make it a 1-2 finish for the Dropping Bombs Racing team. Only a couple of laps left to find out, but Rex is really closing that gap here. And Rex, once again, going back down, trying to make that apron work here. He's the one driver that we've seen really, really pushing to make that apron work. And right now, it might be what decides whether he finishes second or third here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Called about 0.2 of a second here. You know, let's ride down on board with that number 10 machine, see what he sees down there. Again, going way down to the apron, particularly through turn 2 on exit, trying to get that car as low as possible. He's doing a little bit here through 3 and 4, but nowhere near as much as we see him doing it through 1 and 2. McRae catching up to that lap car, though. That's Patrick Dixon up there, who has 3 leaders all bearing down on him right now. No pressure, Patrick. He's going to keep it on high and let these race leaders go on by. And I'll tell you what, Sabelski and Rex have actually closed the gap to McRae by a pretty substantial margin here. It's not only down to 0.6 of a second, and with 17 laps to go, it is anyone in the top 3's game here, particularly if they continue to keep catching McRae in the same way that they are right now. Nose to tail for Sabelski and Rex. And Rex gonna dive it in, make contact with the number 85. That's gonna move him up the track. Rex now being scored in the second position here. Oh man. Things are getting particularly close here at Stafford as we're side by side for the second position. Sabelski trying to make the high line work. Almost a little bit of contact there with Steven Rex. Things are getting a little bit too close for comfort here, and that is absolutely the joy of short track racing. These two drivers are not afraid to put the doors together if they actually absolutely have to, with 14 laps left to go as we cross the line. And Steven Rex is going to make the pass happen. Will Sabelski be able to fire back here? 14 laps left to go. Last time by, Sabelski was a little bit slower than Rex and McRae. Let's see how the lap time cycle out with him not duking it out like that. Not looking good for the driver of the number 85 machine. 0.3 off the pace from McRae and Rex. Both of the Dropping Bomb Racing drivers setting times in the 20.4 range. Sabelski was in the 20.78 area. 12 laps left to go here at Stafford. The clock is ticking here. And Sabelski is really starting to fall back from this battle in that number 85 machine. It's pretty much all equally spread out between your top 3. McRae continuing to lead the field, and McRae definitely has taken home the most laps led of this race. I don't quite know how many laps he has to his name, but it's definitely been more than 50 at this point. So if nothing else, McRae knows that he has those bonus points going home with him, but Sabelski really needs to get around Steven Rex here if he wants to actually take home, or I guess continue to have the championship lead after tonight's event. Double high fives up in the air from Blarney the flagman, though. 10 laps left to go here at Stafford, and Sabelski is really starting to fall away from this battle for the lead. 9 to go here. It's going to come down between Tyler McRae and Steven Rex one way or another, unless we see a little bit of kerfuffle here between the two Dropping Bombs Racing drivers. Of course, we have seen that in the past between McRae and Sukup. So who knows how the story could be between himself and the newcomer for Dropping Bombs Racing here this season, especially this late into the championship. I don't think McRae is going to give Rex any room if he gets up there and tries to make a move for the lead. Of course, there's also the ever-looming possibility of a caution flag coming out. Nobody wants that to happen, but it is still entirely possible here, and that could completely turn this race upside down on its head. Just 7 more laps to go here at Stafford Motor Speedway, and Rex is sending it in deep. He has closed the gap to McRae. Only 3/10 of a second divide them. McRae gets loose off of the corner as well. That's going to make it even better for Rex here. Sabelski's down 2 seconds back now. He's completely out of the picture of this battle. It just is going to come down to these two dropping bombs racing drivers. 6 laps left to go. Are they just going to settle into a rhythm and guarantee a 1-2 finish for the Dropping Bombs racing team? Or is Steven Rex going to try and vie for the win, knowing his teammate is in a very heated points battle for the championship? 5 laps to go here at Stafford Motor Speedway. 4 once we cross the line right here. Not a lot of time left to go. Only just a little bit over a minute, really, if they keep it green flag racing at the pace they're going. 20-second laps. I mean, that's going to go by real dang quickly here. Rex is running out of opportunities to make this move, and he's going to try it right here into 3 and 4. He sends it real deep into turn number 3. Not going to be able to keep it stick. He's going to lose the ground to McRae. He's going to need a lap or two to recuperate to try and do that again. He can't just immediately dive back down into there and try it. Up right in front of him, there's that lapped car of Patrick Dixon scraping against the outside wall. He's going to pull up high out of the way. Nearly contact there between Rex and McRae with 2 to go here from the flag man. 2 more times around Stafford Motor Speedway to settle the score. McRae looks like he has it, but Rex has pretty much 2 more opportunities to try and dive that car in there and make the pass. I don't think he's going to do it with the line he's running right now. A white flag up in the air. Rex going down low into turns 1 and 2. Of course, not really able to do it there. It's all going to come down to who can take 3 and 4 better right here. Rex sends it in deep. Tries to pull it up alongside. There's contact. But Tyler McRae going to take home the win here at Stafford Motor Speedway. What a finish. Only a 6-car field here for this event, and less than a second. Oh, well, so much for that. But Tyler McRae takes home the win by a quarter of a second. Not going to get any burnouts from these drivers. Everyone takes it immediately down into pit lane. And unfortunately, not able to pull any of them up for an interview here this evening either. So go ahead and take a look down at our race results, see how they shake out. Tyler McRae, of course, taking home the win. Steven Rex, Brian Savelski rounding out your remaining podium spots here. It's going to be Jason Gardner bringing it home back in position number 4, with Derek Murphy rounding out the top 5 in that unsponsored 78, with the Advanced Auto Parts number 2 of Patrick Dixon rounding out the tail end of the field here. That said, unfortunately, no interviews to be able to get from these drivers, and everyone's already pulled it down to pit lane. We're not even going to get any sort of burns out here. But for now, thank you all for tuning in to tonight's event here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Next week, heading to the USA International Speedway for round number 9 of season 11. Bound to be one heck of a race. For now, though, thank you all for tuning in, race fans, and I hope y'all have a good evening.